In this video, we'll cover different ways of comparing files' contents. This is especially useful when you want to compare either the output of the same command at different moments or the differences between a backup configuration file and the one currently used by the system. Let's take a look at the first example. I'm redirecting the output of the ifconfig command to two files at different moments. So ifconfig greater than, so command redirection, A. I'm generating some network traffic, ping 8.8.8.8. I'm stopping it by pressing Ctrl and C, and I'm redirecting the output of the same command to another file called B. A and B were created in the current working directory. The files contain the output of the command, but also the differences between the runs. To see if there was any difference between the two runs of the command, I can compare the file's contents. If you only want to know if there is a difference, run the cmp command, so cmp A and B. Cmp compares the files byte by byte and displays the location of the first mismatch. It doesn't say how the files differ, and if they are identical, no message is displayed. A is equal to A. I'm copying the ls command to the current directory. So cp usr bin ls and that, the current working directory. This is the ls binary in the current directory. And I want to see if it's identical to the original one. cmp usr bin ls and ./ls. ls from the current working directory. It's the same with simply writing ls. It's the same. And they're identical. Nothing was displayed. So note that cmp can be used to compare binary files as well. By the way, another way to compare two binary files to see if they are identical is to calculate and compare their hash. The hash is a unique cryptographic ID for each file. Let's calculate the hashes of the ls files using sha256. So sha256 sum, this is the name of the command, and the path to the file. So usr bin ls and ls in the current working directory. And they have the same hash, meaning they are identical. If even a single bit were different, the hashes would be different. Now, I'm changing the copied file. I'm appending something at the end. For example, echo A greater than ls. Let's see if the binaries are still identical. cmp usr bin ls and ls in the current working directory. And they are not identical anymore. They differ on the first line. And the hashes? The hashes aren't identical either. Now, if you want to go deeper and see exactly how they differ, you should run the diff command. It's used only for text files. So diff A and B. Diff stands for difference and is used to display the differences in the files by comparing them line by line. So, from its output, it can be seen that the lines that differ are those related to the received and transmitted packets. This is normal because there was network traffic between the runs of the ifconfig command. I've run the ping command. Let's take another look of the output of the diff command. Let me explain to you how to interpret the output of the diff command in another example. First, I'll install the OpenSSH server or daemon because we'll need it anyway later in the course. So sudo apt install SSH. And it's installing the OpenSSH server. It's done. I'm copying the configuration file of the SSH daemon in the current working directory cp/etc ssh d_config and the destination the current directory. This is the configuration file of the daemon that will be copied in the current directory. I'm opening the file and changing the port option. Of course, I'm opening the copy. And instead of port 22, I'm writing port 29. And I'm saving the file. If you don't know how to use VI, edit the file using gedit, the graphical editor available on Ubuntu. This one. Just go to etc, SSH, and open the sshd_config file. This is the file. However, we'll go really deep into the VI editor in the next lectures. And I'm running the diff command on the files. Diff, the original file, etc ssh sshd_config, and the file in my current working directory, the file I've modified. Let's take a closer look at the output. It's showing us the line that differs and the line number. In this example, it's line 15. The character C after 15 indicates that we have to change or replace the line 15 in the first file by the line 15 in the second file to make them identical. Two other meaningful characters are A and D, where A means add or append and D means delete. Lines preceded by a less than sign are lines from the first file, and the lines preceded by a greater than sign are lines from the second file. In fact, the diff command helps us make the files identical and indicates exactly what should be done. This is used by the patch command to patch a program that has a bug. Let me tell you a few words about it. Suppose a new bug, which is a programming error, was discovered. The solution to make things right is the developer to change the source code. Instead of releasing an entire program, the developer releases only a patch, which is in fact a file that contains the differences between the file that has the bug and the file where the bug was solved. This file, and I mean the patch, was generated by the diff command after calculating the differences between the two source files. You can then apply the patch to the file that contains the bug using the patch tool. The patch file indicates how the file should be changed so that it becomes identical to the other file, the right one. Other useful options of the diff command are capital B to ignore blank lines, W to ignore white spaces, and I to ignore case differences in file contents, and C for a more detailed comparison. And the last option, which is Y, if we want to display the entire file's contents on two columns side by side, indicating the differences. So diff -Y and the files. Here's the difference. Of course, a pipe to the less command would be much better.